So I would like to talk to you about just the general band dynamics, just some tips for the instrumentalists, how to understand band dynamics and how to play together. And the first thing I want to say is the more people you are in a band, the less each person should be playing. It often happens that when you have many people, then everybody just wants to showcase what they can do and they just want to go for it, and that ends up being quite a mess, and especially for the sound team that's trying to make sense of all of the sound that they're getting, and they don't know how to best mix this to create a good proper sound for the congregation. So generally the rule of thumb is less is more, and I know it's a bit cliche, but here's a video of showing someone that doesn't understand this principle of less is more.
And I will call upon your name, keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. You are mine. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Keep my eyes above the waves.
Okay, so that's obviously a bit of an extreme example, but something that all the musicians in the team should pay attention to is how the song and how the entire set goes through certain waves. Now, I can demonstrate this just quickly with an old recording that I did about a couple of years ago, and notice how I board the music up and then it goes down again. And usually the board up is gradual and gradual and gradual until you get to a high point, and then you can start to bring it down. And generally it's the worship leader that dictates how these waves happen, but it needs to be in each person to anticipate these waves, to feel them out. When is the next wave coming? When am I boarding? And then when have we reached the peak and now we're going down? So having said that, you always need to have the ability to go even bigger. So keep space as you keep boarding the music, as the band starts getting louder and things start going up. Again, everybody shouldn't be playing, but you should be able to even go further. So keep a little bit still in your tank. Don't max out too soon. Okay, so here you can see the recording that I made, and I'm just going to start playing it. You'll notice that it's quite long. It's about 11 minutes, but it starts quite gently. It's quite in a soft place, and you can see from the amplitudes here, so the narrow bar, when it's narrow like this, it's soft, and when it's bigger like this, it means it's louder. So you can already see that the music is making a gradual increase, and then there's a rather sudden drop down, so that's now the bottom of the wave. As the music goes down, then it gradually builds up again, and then it drops down, then it stays low for a while until the moment is right and starts building up again, and then goes down. And within each of these waves, you will see that there are some sub-waves. So now when the music started repeating, when the verse was repeating, this wave here is a little bit bigger than the first wave, but it's kind of gradually building. So I'm just going to fast forward a little bit. So yeah, you can see it's already quite big, but there's still a little bit still left in my tank. I can still go bigger, and you can see from the amplitude here that it's even going to go greater. Okay, so now after the climax, now I'm going to bring it down. So you can hear that the music actually came down quite suddenly, so that wave broke on the beach, and then the music is at a gentler place. It doesn't always need to be that sudden, just using this one as an example. So that one was a little bit more gentle. It was still more sudden than the growth, but it was a bit more gentle as it was coming down. And now there's a time, let's say a little bit more of an intimate worship time, and it stays a little bit longer in this low volume range, and then one last big wave, and then the song ends. So yeah, that's the idea. Okay, so the next thing I need to talk about is just understanding frequency range and where the different instruments fall in terms of the frequency range. So a large part of what makes music sound big and small is actually the frequency range that you currently hear. If you're only hearing a narrow frequency range, then the music sounds soft and gentle. If you hear a big frequency range, like a broad frequency range, then you hear then the music feels bigger and fuller. So yeah, you can see a quick summary of just some of the instruments and how they where they fall in the frequency range. You can see the male and female vocals, and then percussion, drums are generally in the lower frequency range. The piano is in the almost covers the entire frequency range. It's a very versatile instrument, but you have to be careful. The guitar is actually also covering the majority of the frequency range, and you need to be careful with that as well. Now, the main reason why I'm telling you this is that when the band plays together, you want to limit the amount of instruments playing in the same frequency range, because that will create quite a muffled sound, and it's difficult for the sound team then to pick up what instruments are playing at what time, and to make this band sound nice and full and colorful. So be aware of where your instrument is on the frequency spectrum, and try to limit it when you're playing with other instruments as well. Now, to just quickly explain harmonics, so these yellow bars that you're seeing on the side, that's the harmonics. So when you play a note or you sing a note, it's not only that note that you hear, you actually also hear frequencies that are higher than that. Now, to quickly demonstrate this in software, okay, so now I'm just talking normally, and I'm just recording my voice, and I'm just going to sing some notes. La 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 la. Okay, now let's just look at what that looks like in the frequency spectrum. So here you can see, as I'm talking, it's actually covering a wider range of frequencies. So here on the left hand side you can see the frequencies. It's the this region here is where the more human speech is, as you can see, but then also all of these colors up on the higher frequencies are the harmonics. So that's just my normal voice, but then all these higher frequencies you're actually also hearing while I'm singing. And as you can see, when I was singing those notes, yeah, you can see it going higher and going lower, but there are all of these extra harmonics which you're also hearing. So when you're playing an instrument or singing, you're not actually just at one frequency, you're actually at multiple frequencies at the same time. Okay, so now that we understand frequency ranges a little bit better, let's quickly just look at it, how it applies to, for example, piano. So piano has almost the entire frequency range available to it, and when the music is at a gentle, soft place, you generally want to keep the frequency band as narrow as possible. So I don't want to be playing in the bass here and high up as well, because then it creates this full sound and it's not this gentle soft sound. So what I'm saying now applies to all instruments, but in the piano it's quite clearly seen. So for example, if it's Our Great Is Our God, I would start, for example, very narrow, just very close together. Okay, so now let's say I start boarding it a little bit. Then I would start moving down with my bass hand, with my left hand. So now I'm filling up more frequency range. right hand is still pretty much doing the same thing. It's just my left hand that's adding now the bass, and it's already sounding a lot fuller. And now let's say I want to go make it even fuller. I'm going to go a little bit higher with my left hand, with my right hand. Also trying to play a wider chord range, and that also creates the feeling of a bigger sound. So I'm trying to now play over this entire frequency spectrum here, and that creates a very nice big sound. Now if I want to go back again gentle, then I'm again in a very small frequency range, just in this small segment here. So now I want to talk just quickly about another thing that the piano is very nice for, and that's if you want to add a pad. So if you layer some pads to it, actually look at the frequencies of the pads have harmonics that are much higher. So in the end you have a sound that is so much bigger, just because you've got, you know, not just the range where you're playing, but you've got all the harmonics in the higher frequencies as well. So just a nice full sound. You can also hear, as I'm pulling down the pads, it automatically, all the music also pulls in. So what I was just showing you might seem like it only applies to piano, but it actually applies to the majority of the instruments. So for example, if the band builds and you're playing clarinet or flute, you would start to play a little bit higher notes because they start to pop out a little bit more and you can hear them clearer. If you play guitar, you would focus a lot more on the strumming of the full chord, so that you catch the entire frequency range, so that it has a nice full sound. When you want to pull in a little bit with the guitar, you would probably start picking, because when you pick, you essentially throw out the middle frequency range and you're just focusing on the bass and the higher frequencies, and especially on the higher frequencies when you're picking on a guitar. So in general, it's a very good thing to keep these frequencies in mind and consider, what is the rest of the band currently doing? How do I fit into that? How do I best apply this? Now I just want to leave with one more comment on the piano, and that is just, as I was saying, less is more. And often my challenge to people is try to hold the same chord for as long as you possibly can before you start changing it. So when I'm playing, just for example, a G, and this works nice with pads because the pad keeps sustaining it. So I'm just playing a G chord. Now you want to create atmosphere, and you want to create this pulling in of people, drawing into a deeper place. I'm just ordering the chord of G. Just every now and again I just put a touch of a note in it. So see how long you can hold that chord, and kind of wait for that nudge until it should change. Just hold it. Don't be complicated. Don't play lots of notes. Just be very, very basic and simple. Really feel it. So yeah, that is pretty much it. That's for the piano, just something to practice. And yeah, even on a guitar, see how long you can actually just pick a couple of notes and just hold those notes, let them just hang, and then just add a little bit of a extra note just to refresh it. See how long you can hold that. So that's how you create atmosphere, that's how you create the deep tender moments. So yeah, that's the quick tips from my side. Looking forward to actually doing this again, going a little bit into more detail and some deeper things. Enjoy.